What are some of the surprise repairs that you can expect when you go to purchase a car that's used and you're wanting to get the maintenance up to snuff? Today we're going to find out. Let's get started. You guys actually just saw a video on this not too long ago. We featured it in a video showing a Honda Accord, and this is a 1998 Lexus LS400. It is in really good shape, but age has gotten to it pretty much all over the car. It's got quite a lot of miles on it, which is not surprising because it's a Toyota product. So the customer actually just purchased this and they brought it to the shop to see what all is it going to need to get it up to snuff, and the list was actually quite large. I'm on the internet all the time, buying parts, researching different obscure car issues, and just looking for that next great car. With all that time on the internet, have you ever wondered how much of your personal information is out there? The first several look okay, the shop's website, my Instagram, link to this channel. Again, nothing that really surprised us. Wait, is that hook audio? The last place that should have my age, my weight, serial number was the Army. How did they get that info? Those related searches are the most scary. Wow, those related searches are the most scary. Why, there are even people searching for more information about Mrs. Wizard. Why, even there's related search for my daughter. That's just scary. As hard as you try to keep your information from getting out there, data brokers sell your info to scammers, spammers, or anyone that just wants to take advantage of you. It's all out there. Your full name, address, health records, your relatives' names, their ages. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helped me reduce the amount of spam I used to get, but it keeps protecting me from hackers who could use my personal information to help them access my social media, bank accounts, and other important personal information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from all those hidden online threats. It's really easy to set up, so I don't have to download several different apps to get things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. I get everything at one affordable price. Hey, you may already have one or two of those tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the doors to the car with the windows down. Aura is always there, working to keep me safe so I can focus on getting all these cars fixed and making videos for you guys. You guys know this is my mission in life, to keep you safe, whether it's from keeping your car on the road, what you should look like in your next car purchase, or online safety. Go to aura.com/carwizard to start your free 2-week trial. There's a link in the description below. Do a Google search for your name. What do you find? Aura will help you keep your info protected. Now back to this Lexus. So I just got done scanning all the parts I'm going to be looking at to get the estimate together on this vehicle, and it's quite a lot. Let's go ahead and go over the list of everything I found. Actually, Danielson found. So I have the list of everything that we found and also the prices involved. We're actually already presented to the customer, and we'll talk to you about here in a minute what they decided to do. But let's go ahead and go over the list. It needs a timing belt and a water pump, which is 13 to 1600 range, depending on what all we need to do. Valve cover gaskets, which would include spark plugs while we have everything apart. It's actually many hours of labor. I thought maybe a couple. There's a lot more of hours on this one. $800 almost. Engine oil pan, which is the lower oil pan, $300 or $400. Transmission oil pan, well, we'll probably do a service, $250 to $350. Drive shaft flex disc, which we're finding on these older Lexus, some of the parts are kind of expensive. It'd be $300 or $400 to do both of those. Front control arms are bad, $750, which the control arms are really expensive. Sway bar bushings are bad, couple $100. The steering rack is actually starting to leak on the input shaft, which it'll need a new steering rack, $1,200 for that. Brake fluid flush, $200, somewhere around in there, and really, we were getting close to $5 grand, $6 grand. It could go as much as $7. With these older cars, you just don't know. Once you start taking stuff apart, you find more things than actually what we found on the list. Do you just say, well, we're just going to leave it broken? Or you finally have to say, well, that's going to add to the price, or that's going to add to the price, and it adds up so fast. With this price, 5, 6, 7 grand, it could be anywhere in there. The customer said, That's more than I paid for the whole car. And trust me, I've heard that so many times. However, the customer is still interested in doing all the repairs, just not all at once. They asked, what do you recommend we start with? And I said, well, we took a look at the timing belt. It definitely needs to be done. Let's do that and the water pump, and then we can start working our way down. Every few weeks or month or so, you can bring it back. Which means you guys will probably be seeing this car coming back over and over and over again. Not because something's wrong, it's because we're doing piecemeal. It'll be coming back a lot. Let's go ahead and get the hood open. So why do timing belts cost so much? What is all involved that makes it over $1,000, on some cars $2,000? Why? Let's take a look. So there's the front of our 1UZ FE. As you can see, Danielson has already torn down everything, got the timing marks lined up, and we're just waiting on the parts to show up. But he's going to go ahead and remove the cam actuators, or the cam sprockets, because as you can see, back through there, you can see the oil is leaking from those seals, so we're going to need to replace those seals. So I mentioned timing marks, and one of the reasons it makes this so expensive is because you need an experienced technician to do the job. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The marker you see there is not the expensive part, it's the experience it takes. You can see the little mark there that he's got marked on this tooth to line up with that mark. Also on the other side is the same scenario. And also down there on the crank also is the same scenario. While the paint marker itself isn't expensive or fancy, it is absolutely essential to verify all those marks are lined up perfectly. The older 1UZ FE engines are non-interference, but this one is a newer one, the VVTi. Those are an interference engine, and what that means is if you have someone unexperienced just slap a belt on and they get those marks off, even just a few teeth, it can literally destroy the engine. Let me show you again what I mean just a few teeth. So you can see each of these is a tooth. If this was turned one way or the other, just a few teeth, it could destroy this bank on the engine. All those teeth we just saw fit into these little grooves on the belt, and everything has to be lined up perfectly. This belt, actually, we looked up the codes which are stamped on here, and Danielson found that this is from 2012, so it is a 12-year-old belt now. We could definitely tell, as I scroll this belt along, you can see cracks all in it. It was definitely time for a timing belt job. It doesn't look so scary, but the fact that if it breaks, the damage that can be done. Like on your serpentine belt, if you see it frayed or something, if it breaks, it's kind of inconvenient. It could overheat the engine on a engine that has the serpentine belt running the water pump. This one wouldn't. But with a timing belt, you really just don't want to chance it, especially with an interference engine. Say, oh, I can go a little while longer. You don't know how much longer you can go. This thing's 12 years old. Will it make it to 13 and break? Or 14? Maybe in 2 months it'll break. How do you know? So it's best to just go ahead and get the job done. Once it breaks, the heads are going to come off. It could destroy the entire engine if the valves break and then it hammers all around inside of there and destroys the top of the piston and the head, completely grenading the engine. One of my mentors actually talks about a story many years ago when he had a technician working for him. He was training him. That technician made a mistake. No, it wasn't me. It was even before I was doing this work. But they got the timing belt wrong. They got the teeth wrong. And something happened and the belt came off. I think they got something wrong with the tensioner as well. And they were getting to go road test it. My mentor said he heard it. He heard the telltale sign of an engine that just grenaded itself. It sounds like a bunch of metal little hammers hitting the top of the pistons. It goes like it winds down until it comes to a stop. My mentor is experienced enough at that time that he put his palm on his head and he knew, I get to buy a new engine. That just destroyed that engine. That's why they're expensive, and that's also why it's a priority not to put this off until, oh, I'll take care of it later. Later may mean a new engine. It's definitely something you don't want to play around with. Let's go take a look at the parts table. So here we have an entire tabletop full of parts that Danielson had to take off just to get to the timing belt. So again, this is not a 10-minute job. So here we have a harmonic balancer. Here we have a power steering pulley. This is actually one of the cam actuators that we took apart because they also have an oil seal, you can see right here where I'm touching, that needs to be serviced. But this is another one of those things, just like when you took it apart, say, oh, well, we can't put it back that way. Listen to this brand new tensioner right here. This is for the serpentine belt, not the timing belt. What did you hear? Nothing really, it's quiet. Let's go listen to the old one. That sounds terrible. Your roller skates are allowed to sound like that, but not a serpentine belt tensioner. That is not part of doing a timing belt job. Those are one of those things when you take it apart, you're like, well, I can't put this back on. It could seize up. Cha-ching, we just added more to the price. Now, I looked at just replacing the pulley alone, and getting the entire tensioner wasn't even that much more money, and you get a complete new spring, tensioner, everything brand new. So they're getting a brand new tensioner. Those things happen a lot when you take apart an engine this far down. Is you find, well, it's going to need this, it's going to need that, and it was not part of the original estimate. So that's where prices can go up pretty fast. This actually sits in front of the water pump. It's where the fan goes, and the serpentine belt drives the fan. It doesn't really do anything other than just hold the fan up. As you can see, there's nothing on the back. It just spins the fan. These are the timing covers. They actually go around the cam gears or cam cogs. Our thermostat housing, which we're putting a new thermostat in. Here's all our air duct work. Here's our fan, and also some hoses. Now the serpentine belt, I always quote with a timing belt job, you're getting a new one whether you want to or not. If I roll this along, you can see little shiny dots. That's actually sand and dirt that is embedded into the grooves. And eventually that can punch through and start tearing up the belt. And since the customer just bought the car, they have no idea how old that belt is, we're just not going to chance it. We're going to put a brand new belt on. Let's get this thing up in the air and take a look at the rest. So I've got my handy dandy list here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this engine oil pan leak and transmission pan oil leak. And what Danielson's talking about is just this lower section. It was leaking all through here and all around behind there. You can see it's wet. So not the entire oil pan, just this lower metal one needs to be resealed. Let's go ahead and look at the transmission. We can see all around the pan is wet. And the easy fix for that is just to service it and put a new filter, and that'll take care of the leak that's going on with that. Now on the steering rack here, you can see that it's all wet, and when Danielson actually turns on the car, he can move the wheel back and forth. It'll actually seep more fluid out. So that's going to need a new steering rack, and that will take care of the leak there. Both of these strut rods actually is what Danielson was quoting. It's not really a control arm, but the rubber that's inside of this bushing is completely cracked and destroyed. Those need to be replaced. It'll take care of that issue. And the sway bar bushings here, I could actually shine light on the top and see light shining through. That means this thing is clunking pretty bad. He noticed a clunk when he went and road tested. It's coming from there. As we move back, you can see the exhaust kind of hides the front flex disc, but let's take a look at the rear one. It's in similar condition. So right in through here, you can see there's some cracks going on right there and also separating right there. It's just from age. Right here as well. It needs to have both of those replaced. Everything else looked good in the back. There's no leaks from the differential or CV boots or anything like that. So we didn't really find anything back here. Amazingly, it's pretty clean in the back. So let's go ahead and get this thing back on the ground. So is it worth putting all that money into this Lexus? Absolutely. There's easily another 200,000 miles of life in this vehicle. And for the money spent, you really can't go buy anything that's going to go that much longer. And it's a really nice car. They drive nice. It looks nice. It's really a great car. The things we're finding on here are not because it was neglected. It wasn't because it was beat up or anything. It's just old. It's got age. So we'll get these things caught up, the services and things. It'll be a really good car for basically the lifespan it's had so far. It'll double that, or maybe even triple that. Keep in mind that everything we're replacing is not major engine components and major failures and engine bearings and stuff. It's just rubber components, belts and bushings and things of that nature. It's just from age. So I don't fault Lexus for what's going on there. And once this all is taken care of, they will really enjoy this car for much, much longer. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this Lexus, or really any car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. If you purchase anything, we get a small cut and we really appreciate it. Make sure to check out Mrs. Wizard's Way. She got some videos going on there, and you can see what's going on her channel. There's a link description for that. Make sure to hit the subscribe button here as well, because we have tons of cars moving through the shop, which means more videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.